A growing number of hospital patients without health care coverage are skipping out on paying their bills.
It's all more of the same here. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Mark Carney and Mark Carney's Energy Minister Tim Hodgson bailing out a company directly tied to the EV industry once again. Meanwhile, we've got numerous other industries in Canada crashing and burning, worth 10 times, 100 times the size, getting no bailouts, getting no love. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we've got this one from Shazzy Goli. It says, apparently there's layoffs coming for Bell in September. Unaware which department, but be mentally prepared seems to be a common thread now with every year for the company, sometimes twice a year. This is the state of Canada. More layoffs, Canadians losing jobs, but don't worry, the Liberals will keep allowing temporary foreign workers to come in and take what little jobs there are in Canada. Next up, we've got Mark Carney with quite the speech here, taking a direct shot at Donald Trump. How's this going to help for his negotiations?
There's a fever gripping America. And while it rages, Canadians will remain resolute and true to our values. While America engages in a war on woke, Canadians will continue to value inclusiveness.
So Donald Trump is cracking down on the woke nonsense. Mark Carney taking a shot at him. Thanks for nothing, Carney. He's not going to get a deal. It's interesting. Comments you see like this, the gay friends I've had over the years didn't want to be in the spotlight. They wanted to be left alone to live their lives. Montreal has our gay village, and I can't think of a right I had that they didn't have. I still support the LGB, but you lose me at the T and beyond. I've seen numerous comments from people who are gay, people who are bi, all that. They just want to be left alone. They don't want to be celebrated with a month, with a day, with a parade, with all that stuff. Mark Carney has been pandering to the woke. He's been pandering to the people who keep blocking our streets, protesting. He's saying people had a big demonstration downtown Vancouver. I put on my other channel. I'll link that up at the end of this video. And with that, we've got Toronto Air Show accused of inflicting deep trauma on Palestinians in Canada. Critics argue the presence of F-35 fighter jets triggered the families of those living in Gaza. Come on, this is a joke. This is so insanely ridiculous. You could say that about anything in Canada. You could say, oh, the presence of katanas, it triggered Japanese families when the samurai were wiped out. That's unfortunate, but that's not a reason to cancel the event. Yeah, this is Canada. This is what we're going to do. Don't like it. Don't have to live here. But don't worry, we've got this one from the Western Standard. NDP MP Heather McPherson calls for the Royal Canadian Air Force to evacuate Gazans. That's right. Use our tax dollars to go rescue people who aren't Canadians. No. That's not how this works. She should not be in Parliament. She's a lunatic. She's absolutely insane. Will they be rescuing white farmers in South Africa en route to Dear Do-Gooder? No, they're not going to rescue them. They selectively rescue people. What's stopping the NDP from fundraising for private flights? Surely their massive war chest could cover such an expense. What a great comment. This is an interesting clip here. So we've got Mark Carney as chair of Brookfield Asset Management. He's asked about Bitcoin. Will Bitcoin be worth more than $1,000 in 10 years? I don't know when this clip was shot, but it must have been at least 3 or 4 years ago.
Will Bitcoin be worth more than $1,000 in 10 years?
Who cares? Like, seriously.
Who cares? Like, seriously. I wonder if he'd like to have that one back now. Bitcoin's value has gone up astronomically. Technologically illiterate and ignorant. What a clown. He's so smug and arrogant. Yeah, isn't that the truth? This really shouldn't surprise anyone. He's an elitist banker. Next up with this one here, Mark Carney's talked about values. Muslim values are Canadian values. I don't think so. This clip is getting shared a lot today. I think this was back from June, where he had a Muslim guy who asked this guy at a bus stop if he's Muslim. He said no. And then 3 minutes into this bus ride, I can't play this video, but he went from standing here to pulling out a very long pokey poke, and then he just goes right at the guy's throat, and he missed the major artery by 1 millimeter. It's even more shocking about this video. He fights off the guy while holding a cup of coffee and is able to throw him off the bus with one hand and doesn't spill the coffee. Now, if this ever happens to anyone who's watching this, the first thing you do is you take the lid off the coffee and then you throw it in the guy's face. That's the first thing you do, because hot coffee will get rid of an intruder pretty quick. Either way, though, these are not Canadian values. Pokey pokes to people's throats are not Canadian values. This is what the Liberals have brought into our country. This is what Mark Carney has brought into our country. We've also got this one here. Shelter in place warning in YYC. Stay away from 500 Block Crescent Road Northwest in Calgary. Active pew pew situation. This is just more of the same here in Canada. Unbelievable crime and chaos. The Trudeau Liberals are driving people crazy with their policies and agenda. Yeah. Moving ahead from Mark Nixon here, we've got this sentiment is being felt by many voters voters who chose Carney. Regrets is starting to kick in across Canada. I've seen a lot of this on X. You see stuff like this. I gave him a chance, but now I want him gone. Carney voters are feeling duped. They realize they picked the wrong guy. They didn't do research. They didn't watch channels on YouTube that exposed the guy, and now Canada's heading down a very bad path. Worse than Trudeau. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. We tried to warn them. They wouldn't listen. Now we all pay the price. Next up, we've got another post here from Tim Hodgson, Mark Carney's energy minister. Check this out. So the world is changing fast, but one thing remains: Canada is standing with natural resource industry to protect jobs and our economy. That's why we stepped in to sustain production of graphite at Lac de la blah 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 mine in Quebec, North America's only operating graphite mine. This investment means Canada can maintain domestic capacity while providing our allies with a secure and sustainable source of graphite, a crucial input for batteries and other products. He says it right here. Graphite is used in electric vehicle batteries. The Liberals just stepped in, financially supporting this company. Meanwhile, we've got the canola industry, $45 billion a year, getting nothing. No negotiations, no money, no nothing. As this guy points out here, canola industry $43.7 billion a year vastly exceeds the graphite industry $32 million in exports, with a total impact likely under $100 million. Let's talk about canola instead, okay? How does this even compare? 100 million, say if that number is correct, to 43 billion. It's because these guys are all invested in these EVs. They're forcing EVs on us. Starting next year, 20% of all cars have to be EVs. They want to protect this. Brookfield invested in EVs multiple different ways. Mark Carney obviously invested in Brookfield. What's Tim Hodgson's investments? That's something to take a look at. I have checked. Brookfield isn't invested in this company. They actually are invested in other mining companies. It comes down to it. He's already said it. This is critical for EV batteries. And with that, we've got Mark Carney's Minister for Internal Trade here, Maninder Sidhu, gets asked the $1 million question about EVs and will the Carney government drop the 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs to get this whole canola situation dealt with. How do you think he responds to this?
As you know, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe has been active on this file, rightfully so. There's a lot of canola farmers in his province, and he says that Canada should remove the 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles to try and clear this logjam. Is that under consideration? Would the government consider getting rid of those tariffs on Chinese EVs?
Look, I respect Premier Moe. I think it's important that we all row in the same direction about standing up for farmers, standing up for important industries in this country, and we'll continue to engage on this file. And that's exactly what I've committed to do.
He's committed to engage on that file. That means nothing.
Exactly what Prime Minister Carney will do. He's talked to his counterpart. And the first step was to make sure that we're able to have dialogue and constructive dialogue, be it that. So I think, with the JETSI Commission back online, we're going to be able to work through a lot of these challenges.
They're going to work through the challenges. That also means nothing. They're doing nothing. They're going to give money to a graphite company, but they're not going to help the $43 billion canola industry.
Earlier criticism about how there is not a lot of progress to show for some of these trips, some of these negotiations that are ongoing. I take your point that it's about meeting people, it's about starting these relationships from scratch in many cases. But when you look through some of the announcements from this week, you look at the one with Poland, they talk about support enhanced collaboration, encourage mutually beneficial strategic partnerships. There's a lot of kind of flowery language, if you will, and there's not a lot of concrete announcements out of this week. Even on the critical minerals ones you spoke about earlier, not a lot of details there, not a lot of timelines. There's no money in these announcements. There's no talk of an actual project getting off the ground. What do you say to people who are frustrated about the pace of change when it comes to negotiating some of these new deals?
Look, on Mercosur, we want to move fast. That's important. We have an opportune time where people are looking at Canada as a stable, reliable trading partner. And I think it's important that we jump on that opportunity. My number one goal is to make sure that I open every door of opportunity. Meeting with the Chamber of Commerce across Canada, they have asked me to be out there to showcase Canadian technology, Canadian innovation, because as you know, Canadians, we're very modest. We don't brag enough, and other countries are taking advantage of that. And so we need to make sure that we're more aggressive, more ambitious. You spoke about critical minerals. It's important that we engage with like-minded partners, and Prime Minister Carney being in Europe now, I think this is his third visit. It's important to showcase what Canada has to offer. Critical minerals, energy. We talk about LNG. I was in Kitimat, BC to thank the workers that helped build that plant. Thousands of workers came together to build that LNG Canada plant. And that's a milestone for Canada. As you know, JP.
A milestone, one LNG plant. Meanwhile, Justin Trudeau and the Liberals here turned down dozens of projects that would have had billions of dollars flowing into Canada now. They turned all of them down, said there was no business case, and now he's touting the one LNG project. And why do we have one? Because it's Indigenous owned. And that's the only thing that's allowed to get built in this country, is if they can say it's Indigenous owned. Meanwhile, we've got corrupt First Nations chiefs making $914,000 a year. Corrupt, unbelievably corrupt.
That was the first shipment outside of the U.S. market. And so, it's about economic security, but it's also making sure that we're promoting Canadian products on the world stage. And that's exactly what we'll continue.
They're not doing anything. They're getting no results. There's no deals. Bunch of flowery language. Even JP Tasker said it. Flowery language. Nothing is going on. Moving ahead, we've got this one. NDP MP Heather McPherson is sponsoring a petition calling on the government to waive visa requirements for Gazans seeking to come to Canada and deploy Canadian military aircraft or chartered planes to help bring them here. Why? Why would we roll out the red carpet for more of the people who block the streets, who are costing taxpayers thousands, if not tens of thousands, millions of dollars in police resources? They literally blocked the Pride Parade in Ottawa recently. They had to shut it down because of these people. A lot of these people support Sammy Doon, a terror lord organization, chanting D-word to Canada, D-word to United States. We don't need more of these types in Canada. She has to be kidding. Several Middle Eastern countries have declined to accept Palestinian refugees from Gaza with varying degrees of explanation. This should tell us everything. If you got other countries around there that won't accept them, maybe we should look at the fine print and realize we should be doing the same. Egypt cited concerns about permanent displacement undermining Palestinian statehood, security risks, and potential chips and hummus. Jordan expressed fears of permanent displacement altering demographic balance. Lebanon refused due to its own history of Palestinian refugee issues. Turkey, Qatar, Algeria, Kuwait, and Malaysia have not offered to take in refugees despite vocal support for Palestinians, without providing any reason, essentially. We've got this one from CTV Ottawa. City of Ottawa requiring all employees in the office 5 days a week starting January. And with that, we've got the mayor of Ottawa pushing against the Palestinian protesters who blocked the Pride Parade. The left are eating the left.
I don't think we should ever be in a situation where someone can block an event or a parade, especially Capital Pride, make a bunch of demands, and unless those demands are met, then the parade or the event doesn't go ahead, because what's the list of demands going to be next time?
You can't argue with that. Now, I don't agree that we should be having pride parades. I think we should be celebrating our veterans, our military, firefighters, police officers, nurses. But regardless, we can't have Palestinian protesters blocking planned events just because they have demands and wants, just because they say so. Palestinian protesters are blocking these events. They need to be arrested. Moving ahead, we've got the Canadian healthcare system getting defrauded by non-citizens who aren't paying for healthcare that they're getting.
A growing number of hospital patients without healthcare coverage are skipping out on paying their bills. That's according to the health authorities that run Metro Vancouver's hospitals. Our Penny Daflos is here now. And Penny, we're talking millions of dollars here.
Yeah, Mijang, that's because about a third of all medical bills from non-residents of Canada are unpaid after people receive care in Lower Mainland hospitals. Before the pandemic, it was about 20.
A third of all medical bills. I'm sorry, but maybe you need to check if they have a medical card when they're coming in.
$22 million a year. And in 2022, it soared to $36 million. I've charted it here for you to see. Obviously, in 2020, when international travel was near zero, we saw a significant drop in unpaid bills. But it's recovered and exceeded in Providence and Fraser health authorities, with Vancouver Coastal showing a slight improvement, but is still posting the biggest losses. Now, the health minister insists they are trying to keep unpaid bills to a minimum. With prepayment, of course, that's not always an option.
Very insistent on people paying up front. When there's an emergency case, we don't have much choice in that sometimes, so we have to deal with that. We're not going to be able to totally eliminate that. I think people understand that. But we have to take every step we can, and our collections teams work very hard to do that.
I'm sorry, but taxpayers should not be on the hook for this. Either they pay or they don't get service. If it's something really bad, then we should stick them on a flight and send them back to the country they came from, and they can get service in their own country.
Authorities also emphasize that no one will be denied urgent medical care, whether they're Canadian or they can pay or not. Now, Canadians should not be hit with any bills because provinces have deals to cover their citizens domestically. Of course, healthcare budgets are multi-billions of dollars, so these are comparatively small amounts. But our healthcare system should be getting paid back when people receive care here.
Taxpayers pay for this regardless. Even if it isn't provincial money going to it, it's going to be federal money, which is taxpayer money. These people need to be deported back to their own country if they can't afford to pay their medical bills. No one is really in charge. And we wonder why our government won't put Canadians first. Keep voting Liberal. Yeah, that's what we're getting here. There's only two ways to fix this. Either we give them care and then they have a huge bill. If they don't pay it, then they go to jail and they have to work in some sort of facility until they pay off what they owe us, or we deport them back to their country where then they can get care in their own country. It has to be one or the other. Taxpayers shouldn't be paying for other people who don't pay their bill. At some point here, Canadians have to come first in Canada. Moving ahead, we've got this one here. More people in Canada going through people's garbage to collect cans and bottles than ever before. That's how you can tell Liberals have been making life more affordable.
Right now, I'm looking for empty bottles, refundables.
In Vancouver's alleys, Grant Killian and Francis Taban make a bit of extra money collecting drink containers.
I don't drink anymore, so the smell bugs me a lot.
Each piece is worth 10 cents when it's returned to a recycling depot.
How much would let's say a full bag of a big garbage bag full of beer cans, how much roughly would you get from that?
$30.
$30.
It's not a lot, but it's enough that more people here see it as a way to help make ends meet.
It's more busy every day. It used to be few guys who were either drug addicts or maybe alcoholic. Now it becomes more people losing jobs, less income, cost of living going up.
Everyone knows basic expenses are going up, but economic inequality is rising too. Canada's income gap, that's the difference in the share of disposable income between well-off and struggling households, is now the widest it's ever been.
And it's particularly has been tough on the people at the bottom of the income distribution.
They're also more likely to be affected by economic uncertainty and job losses. Turning that around would require targeted policies like better income supports, says this economist.
So we actually need a government that pays attention, well, basically to the vast majority of people who aren't rich, who are struggling with the day-to-day cost of living.
There's another can there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Some who collect and recycle Vancouver's trash for money say the work keeps them motivated and active, even if it's exhausting and tedious.
Look at him. He's carrying all those, and he hasn't made even $10. Yeah.
But at this end of the income spectrum, people have little other options.
Just an honest way of getting by, right?
The weight of getting by is a heavier load for some. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
This is rough. I mean, as that guy pointed out, he's not even carrying $10 worth of cans. It's like $4. A young girl literally just knocked on my door asking if she could take my empty cans from my recycling bin. There's a guy who walks down the street here on recycling day, and he'll go through and just quickly pop the lids and see if there's any cans. I usually just give him a whole bag. It's easier for him. It's easier for me. I mean, time's tough right now. We're going down the recession superhighway. By Christmas, we'll be full-blown recession.